Hello, my name is Randy Boer. I'm an Associate Director of Championships at the NCAA and also the Primary Championships Manager for the NCAA Division I Wrestling Championships. I'm joined by Brad Traviola, Chair of the NCAA Wrestling Committee and Deputy Commissioner of the Big Ten Conference. The purpose of this instructional video is to educate the membership, its coaches and student athletes, the media and fans in regard to the significant changes to the qualifier allocation criteria that will be in effect for the 2009 NCAA Division I Wrestling Championships. Before we get into the actual criteria, I thought it'd be important to go over a few introductory questions with Brad so we get a feel for what we're looking for 2009. Brad, why did the Wrestling Committee decide to change the qualifying system?
Well, there was significant concern among the membership with the use of historical data. And by that I mean, for example, with the 2009 championships coming up, the old formula would have permitted and it actually required the committee to look at NCAA championship results from 2004 through 2008, and that played a significant role in how many qualifying positions each conference received for 2009. And the underlying issue is it really fair to current student athletes to either be penalized or to benefit from the past performance of wrestlers who came before them and how they performed at their respective events.
Yeah, Brad, that was always a concern. I know that was one of the charges of the cabinet to try to get that corrected. And I think the Wrestling Committee's done this with the new proposals that we've put forth and the qualifier allocation criteria. I guess another question I think that probably people are interested about is when are these changes going to be implemented?
Well, soon, for the 2009 championships. We were given the charge really just a little over a year ago to make sweeping changes to the system, and the Wrestling Committee, with the very intricate help of the National Wrestling Coaches Association, put together a model. We did a mock trial run with 2008 data, and we've developed a system that we're very confident will achieve the goals of, one, eliminating historical data. We eliminated the wild cards, but we have a system now that will have a whole new set of tools at the committee's disposal that will look at current year data only, and that will be used for determining who qualifies for the current year championships.
It sounds like with the changes that are going to be adopted here for the 2009 season, it'll be an interesting process that the NCAA Wrestling Committee will have to work through come next February and March of 2009. Final question I'd like to ask is related to the overall health of the sport of wrestling. How do you feel that those changes are really going to sustain the sport of wrestling overall and continue to make this sport a very viable sport on the national level?
Well, the committee is very mindful that not only this AQ system and getting rid of historical data, which again is the right thing to do, we're very confident about that, but we're very mindful that the new AQ system is one of many parts that will either help and contribute to the sustainability of the sport of wrestling or could potentially detract from it. So the committee is committed to monitoring this new system very closely, and one of the things that we're going to be looking at is when we're allocating qualifiers based on solely getting the best competitors to the NCAA championships, what is that impact on programs that are either struggling to maintain sponsorship or those that have historically had very good success at the NCAA level? So if we see big and massive trends in that the committee is concerned with, we'll certainly have to address them in the future.
I think that's very helpful, Brad, and hopefully for everyone out there, I think has been able to hopefully get a little better feel for kind of framing the issues today of what we're looking at related to the allocation of qualifier criteria. I think, Brad, I think you're able now to hopefully walk us through this in a lot greater detail and explain the allocation of qualifier criteria to not only the coaches, the student athletes, the media, just the general public overall, but everybody that really loves wrestling so that they understand what the selection criteria is going to be for 2009, because it is a little bit different, isn't it?
Very much so. I'd be happy to do so.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it.
The 2009 qualifier allocation formula is a significant departure from previous year's models. Significant changes to the qualifier allocation criteria include the elimination of historical data, elimination of wildcard selections, the standardization of brackets, allocating the majority of qualifiers prior to conference and regional events, with the remaining qualifiers selected by the NCAA Wrestling Committee. While these are admittedly major changes from the previous system, the committee believes that in concert, these changes will more fairly and more accurately identify the wrestlers most deserving to participate in the NCAA Division I championships. Further, this new system maintains the importance of conference championship events. The departure from historical data to exclusively current year data is viewed as being the most meaningful change in terms of fairness of the system to the current student athletes, who will no longer inadvertently benefit or be disadvantaged by past performances of their respective conference or regional. The elimination of wildcard selections also provided an opportunity to standardize the NCAA championship brackets. Under the old system, wildcard selections were determined locally and independent from selections made at other conferences or regional events. This resulted in certain weight classes receiving more total qualifiers than other weight classes. Now that one national committee will be selecting at-large qualifiers, each weight class will be equally represented at the NCAAs. One of the most notable changes with the new system is that not all 330 qualifying positions will be allocated prior to the conference tournaments or regionals. It is estimated that between 250 and 300 automatic qualifiers will be allocated in 2009. The committee believes that allocating a large number of automatic qualifying positions is critical to maintaining the meaningfulness of conference and regional qualifying events, as these positions will continue to be earned by wrestlers through the competition at these events. Now, how will the committee determine how to allocate the 250 to 300 positions? A primary criteria formula that is dependent on accurate and timely match results and rankings provided by the coaches. It is imperative that all coaches give these responsibilities their highest priority. The National Wrestling Coaches Association has expanded how the online season record forms can be utilized for the NCAA's new qualifier allocation criteria, but the success of this new system will be directly linked to the accuracy and the timeliness of the information submitted by the coaches. I'll describe some of this information later in this presentation, and coaches will also receive detailed instructions from the NCAA regarding these responsibilities. The primary criteria formula will utilize three measurements: winning percentage, a ratings percentage index, or RPI, and a coach's ranking. The winning percentage is defined as 2008-09 Division I wins divided by total Division I matches contested. The RPI is defined as your winning percentage, or a wrestler's winning percentage, time the opponent's winning percentage, time a wrestler's opponent's winning percentage. The RPI components are weighted as follows, with 25% going towards your winning percentage, 50% towards your opponent's winning percentage, and another 25% towards your opponent's winning percentage. And RPI, in order for a wrestler to have an RPI, that wrestler must have contested at least 15 matches at a given weight class. For the coaches ranking, each conference and regional will designate 5 coaches from their respective league to rank 2 weight classes each, 33 wrestlers deep. The committee will calculate both RPIs and request coaches rankings in mid-January and early February with the intent of publicly releasing this information in efforts to familiarize coaches and student athletes, the media and fans with these new criteria. On February 23, 2009, the Wrestling Committee will receive updated winning percentage, RPI, and coaches rankings for all wrestlers. These February 23rd measurements will be used to calculate automatic qualifying positions for 2009 conference and regional qualifying events. Another significant change with the new system is that the automatic qualifiers will be allocated per weight class and per conference or regional qualifying event, meaning that the number of qualifiers may vary from weight class to weight class with any given conference or regional qualifying event. Based on the February 23rd measurements, wrestlers that meet or exceed threshold levels for all 3 measures will be labeled gold standard wrestlers. Wrestlers that meet or exceed threshold levels at any 2 of the 3 measurements will be labeled silver standard wrestlers. All gold and silver standard wrestlers will earn an automatic qualifying position for their respective conference or regional. If a conference or regional has no gold or no silver standard wrestlers, that conference or regional will receive one automatic qualifying position for the conference or regional champion in that weight class. At the conclusion of the conference or regional qualifying events, the NCAA Wrestling Committee will convene in Indianapolis to select the at-large qualifying positions using a secondary criteria. The committee will follow the charge of NCAA Bylaw 31.3.5 that instructs selection committees to allocate at-large qualifiers to the most highly qualified individuals. The committee believes that one of the great benefits of this new formula is that the automatic qualifiers will still be determined by the conference and regional competition. Only wrestlers that are the official entry at the qualifying events for their institution can earn automatic qualification or be selected as an at-large qualifier. Qualifying events must also determine whether they will wrestle for the so-called true second or true fourth or true sixth place matches at their respective events. As mentioned earlier, the brackets for the NCAA championships are now standardized with 33 wrestlers per weight class. And depending on the number of automatic qualifying positions allocated prior to the conference championships and regionals, that will determine how many at-large selections the NCAA committee will need to make. On March 9, 2009, all wrestlers will receive an updated winning percentage and RPI that will include all competition through the conference championships and regionals. Wrestlers that meet or exceed any one of the following secondary criteria will be labeled a bronze standard wrestler and will be eligible for selection by the committee for an at-large qualifying position. A 700 winning percentage, a top 33 RPI, a top 33 coaches rank, and with the coaches rank we will still rely on the February 23rd measurement, a 700 winning percentage against all competition, one win against a wrestler receiving automatic qualification, or a qualifying event placement one below automatic qualification, meaning if a weight class at a qualifying event was allocated 2 automatic qualifiers, that third place wrestler at that event will be on the board per the secondary criteria. Only bronze standard wrestlers will now be eligible for at-large qualifying positions. The NCAA Wrestling Committee will use the following additional criteria to make at-large selections from the pool of bronze standard wrestlers. The committee will look at head-to-head competition, qualifying event placement, quality wins, results against common opponents, and then again going back to winning percentage, RPI, coaches rankings, and the number of matches contested at that weight class. Announcements of at-large selections will occur on Wednesday, March 11th. Now let me take you through an example that the committee examined using data from the 2008 season. The spreadsheet you see in front of you lists the primary criteria formula at a measurement taken immediately prior to the conference championship and regional qualifying events. The measurements show each wrestler's RPI rank, coach's rank, and winning percentage at that point in time during the season. Because every conference champion and every regional champion will receive an automatic qualifying position to the NCAA championships, there will be 11 positions off the top for every weight class allocated for this purpose. So what you see on the spreadsheet in spots 1 through 11 are wrestlers that may be gold standard, may be silver standard, or may come from the pool of the remaining wrestlers, but it is one wrestler per weight class. The wrestlers that are labeled gold standard below 11 and silver standard below 11 are additive to that conference or regional champion that will receive or earn a qualifying position for their respective conference or regional. So let me take you through a few examples. On line 4, we have a wrestler from the Colonial Athletic Association with a winning percentage of 794, a coach's rank of 9, and an RP rank of 5. The threshold levels for this exercise that the committee used last year was a 750 winning percentage, a top 25 coach's rank, and a top 25 RPI rank. This wrestler cleared the threshold in all three categories, thus earning a gold standard label. The wrestler number 11. This wrestler had a winning percentage from the West Regional, had a winning percentage of 762, a 26 coaches rank, and an 11 RPI rank. So of the three threshold measurements, a 750 winning percentage, a top 25 coaches rank, or a top 25 RPI rank, this wrestler crossed the thresholds in 2 out of the 3 categories, thus earning a silver standard. Now again, if we go up to line item 5 for the East Regional, that wrestler had a winning percentage of 476, did not receive a coach's rank, and had an RPI rank of 63. That wrestler did not receive or cross the threshold barriers in 2 of the 3, so that wrestler is in the pool. But because the East Regional did not have any wrestlers earn gold or silver, they are still guaranteed a spot for their champion, and this person was identified as the placeholder for that position. So those are the first 11, how the first 11 spots will be allocated for all weight classes for the 2009 season. Now, going down below the first 11 lines, what we have listed now are wrestlers that achieved gold standard labels by virtue of being a top 25 ranked wrestler by the coaches, receiving a top 25 RPI rank, and having a 750 winning percentage or greater. So you'll see there are 6 wrestlers above and beyond the 11 champions that receive a qualifying position for their respective conference. As you go from line 18 to 25, there's an additional 8 wrestlers from across the country that cross 2 of the 3 threshold measurements. And it doesn't matter what combination of the 3 that these wrestlers cross. It could be a winning percentage in coach's rank, the winning percentage paired with the RPI, or even the coach's rank and RPI paired with one another. The committee felt that this was a nice balance where if someone is argued to have a high winning percentage yet didn't have a tough schedule, so they had a winning percentage over 750, maybe the RPI didn't cross the top 25, they had to be validated by the coach's rank in order to earn a qualifying position for their respective conference or regional. Now on the flip side, just because someone has a high RPI and is in the top 25, they need to, and maybe they wrestled the tough competition, but if they didn't win enough matches, if they didn't have a 750 winning percentage, they needed to be validated by a coach's rank in order to earn a qualifying position for their conference. So the wrestling committee felt very comfortable that by having these 3 distinct criteria to measure wrestlers' current year performance, that there was enough balance, and by setting a threshold of having to clear 2 of the 3 thresholds, that this was a good determining mechanism of finding out who are the best wrestlers in each weight class across the country, and these are the kinds of people that should be qualified for the NCAA championships. Now, it's very important to understand that these wrestlers that earn the positions for their respective conferences aren't necessarily the same wrestlers who actually will receive these qualifying positions. They, in fact, earn them for their qualifying conference or regional, and then must compete at the championship or at the regional and perform up to the set limit that will, they must compete at the conference championship or at the regional and earn their way to the NCAA championships based on how many qualifying positions the committee has allotted to that particular qualifying event. This next spreadsheet shows an example of the secondary criteria with updated winning percentage and RPI measurements taken immediately after conference and regional qualifying events. As you'll note, there were 25 automatic qualifying positions allocated prior to the conference championship events. Then logically at the conclusion of those events, 25 wrestlers earned their way to the NCAA championships by their performance at those events. Now, given that we have a standard weight classes and standard brackets, there will be 33 wrestlers per weight class. The committee now will reconvene and select the final 8 wrestlers at 125 using updated information. As mentioned, we will include now the wins and losses gained by wrestlers at the conference championships and at the regionals. We will update the RPIs. We will have to use the coaches' rankings from February 23rd, but then we'll also be able to slice and dice the season record forms and be able to show and take a detailed look at each wrestler's wins and losses versus ranked opponents versus wrestlers who earned their way in via the automatic qualifying positions. And the committee has a number of tools at their disposal to narrow down the bronze pool to the 8 wrestlers that will fill out the bracket. If you look at the spreadsheet, there's a total of 18 wrestlers that crossed at least one threshold that the committee will look at and determines the bronze pool. So again, we wanted to have a very broad representation of quality wrestlers that are out there that the committee can consider and may have a shot at getting to the NCAA championships. So in order to have the most diverse pool possible, the committee felt it's important that the threshold really just be you need to cross just one of them. So if you have a high winning percentage, you're on the board. If you have a high coaches rank, you're on the board. If you beat someone that was in the that qualified for the NCAA championships, you should be on the board. Now this is where the committee's hard work comes into play. The committee members will then convene and look at the head-to-head matchups of these 18 wrestlers. How did they do amongst themselves? Who had quality wins against people that are either highly ranked or are already in the NCAA field? And we will go weight class by weight class. And again, using the charge from the NCAA bylaws, our charge is to select the most highly qualified individuals to the NCAA championships. So that is the charge of the committee, and that is our job to go weight class by weight class. As I mentioned here at 125 in this example, we would have to select 8 wrestlers to complete the field to 33 at this weight. At other weight classes, it may be slightly more, it may be slightly less, but at the end of the day, we need to have standard brackets of 33 wrestlers each. I hope that you found this instructional video to be helpful in understanding the NCAA's new qualifier allocation criteria for Division I wrestling. The committee will closely monitor the processes and results of this new system, and as the case with many new models, may choose to tweak the system in future years. Thank you for your support with this new system, and good luck this season.